As I mentioned last night when I was thinking about what I wanted to share, I pulled a book off of my shelf that's actually been in our house for quite a while, but I didn't realize its significance until Niniao Simmons of our staff actually talked about this book, and that book is Light Upon the Mist. It's a book that's a collection of writings by a Kaikoakana, the first Hawaiian kahu at Kaihao Church. And beginning in the fall of 1918, he was the kahu at Kaihao Church, but more important, he was a good friend and a strong ally of Prince Jonah Kuhio Kalenianaole. We believe that Kuhio carried with him this manuscript that was written by a Kaikoakana called The Sinews of Racial Development. And so when you look at this manuscript, I like to believe that it's the best ideas of what Kuhio meant when he talked about the rehabilitation of the Native Hawaiian people. So what the Sinews of Racial Development described are the key threads or the essential fibers that provide our people with the cords of persistent, enduring, and ever-increasing power. And, quote, thus laying the foundation for race, culture, or discipline, and for a continuous race development. Now, this was written in the early part of the century, so the language is a little bit different than what we use today. But what I like to believe, it's essentially the cords to support the advancement of our Hawaiian people. These important sinews included, 1, race consciousness, or pride for and faith in the Hawaiian people. 2, broad-mindedness, or a recognition that the Hawaiian nation is only a small fraction of the entire human family, that we have much to contribute, but also have much to learn from the, quote, good in other races. 3, education, but not just the acquisition of degrees. Education, or particularly the power of the mind and the heart to discover and apply the knowledge learned, to appreciate the interrelation of all occupations, great and small, from the people that dig the ditches, that clean the kalo, that drive the bus, that pick up the rubbish, and that run our trusts, that all occupations, great and small, are important, and to develop humility or efficiency. And when I look at that, it really meant striving for quality, honesty, unity, and devotion. 4, our home life, or the character of our family, and the, quote, soul and will of the family circle, that pono environment that we create for our children and for our grandchildren. 5, systemic living, or maintaining our health, our personal health, our mental health, our spiritual health, and developing the discipline and persistence to endure. With regard to the resources of the earth, Kahuakana saw the importance of bringing back into Hawaiian hands the soil of their own land and the value it produces, and of taking control of our economic future. And finally, godliness, or the recognition that Keakua provides the anchor and the direction in the, quote, stormy struggle that inevitably comes with an endeavor to forge ahead. Kahuakana penned this manuscript, a densely worded piece filled with thought-provoking insight almost 100 years ago, and he addressed it, quote, not for the general public, but specially for leaders, for those whose hearts are touched by the pressing needs of the race, our people, and are willing to offer the very best of their lives and service freely for its uplift, close quote. Today, we are the people he intended to hear his message, you and me. Hawaiian leaders, whether you are a leader in your family, in your church, in your community organization, a nonprofit, a business, a government agency, or a large Hawaiian trust. Hawaiian leaders whose hearts are touched by the pressing needs of our people and are willing to offer the very best of our lives in the various fields: education, health, language, culture, government, business, agriculture, water, housing, natural resources, ocean resources, economic development, to uplift our people. The work that we do individually and collectively on behalf of our lahui is hard work. It's long days and often equally long nights. It's thankless, difficult, and exhausting, and done usually with minimal, if any, resources. But we do this work because deep within us is a calling to kāko'o our people, to care for Hawaii, our homeland, and to nurture our lahui. Perhaps the most disheartening of the work that we do as leaders is when others within our community and sometimes externally are quick to criticize, and today we have the social media and the email blasts and all of that, but are slow to take the time to learn and to understand how hard it can be to walk a mile in our shoes. So over the next few days, let us be inspired as we gather to learn of one another's accomplishments, ideas, stories, struggles, and successes. Let us lend support and encouragement and celebrate how far we have come. Let us discuss and strategize how to take the next steps in the long, arduous journey ahead. Let us share fellowship and humor as a way to carry each other's loads when the task Keakua has placed before us seems daunting and impossible. And finally, let us withhold criticism of the size of the hole until we have taken the time to pick up a shovel and dump in the ditch. I want to leave you with one of my most favorite quotes that has become, a quote that has become one of my favorites that I first saw in Brené Brown's book, Daring Greatly. Although it comes from Theodore Roosevelt, and I don't know all of his politics, but I love the quote. Quote, "It is not the critic who counts, nor the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasm, the great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, and at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. For all of us in the arena, you and me, and I want to acknowledge one person in particular, although I have a fabulous, hardworking staff, all of the work that Governor talked about in the water arena for Hawaiian homes was due to this one person who was a leader within our department, and that's Kaleo Manuel. And he's definitely in the arena, and I want to acknowledge him and have him stand up. He's a next-gen leader. So to him and to all of you doing the work, it will take all of us. I want to say, e holomua kako. Mahalo and blessings to all of you.